Hello Zen fam! Welcome to video 800. Wow, 800 videos. Well, I suppose after 9 years, 800 videos is going to happen eventually. So you're probably out there going, alright Zen folk, how much special can you make video 800? What are you going to do? Well, I shall tell you, gentle viewer. This is what I intend to do with video 800. You see, there's been this little video response daily doing the rounds, okay? Where basically, alright, 3 questions are asked of a YouTuber, and then 3 YouTubers are then tagged to ask the same 3 questions. And quite a few people have taken this challenge on, and I intend to do the same. So the person that tagged me is a fantastic wee YouTuber from Ireland, Mr. Irish Nerd Life. He's a lovely chap. And so basically, I decided, yeah, you tagged me, I like your content, and I'm gonna totally rise to this occasion because I do like a good video response video. In fact, I miss that particular tool on YouTube because YouTube, many years ago, used to have a tool at the bottom of the video that said video response, where you could quickly fire an actual video response right then, right there, as it were. But then of course YouTube in its infinite wisdom took it away, like they do so many other things in their infinite wisdom. But nevertheless, this is what is, this is what I'm doing. Buckle up. Oh, before I do, please remember, I'm going to link that video again in the video description for you to get your votes in for YouTuber of the Month. It's still active. It's active to roughly the end of the month. All you need to do, the video that's in the description, hit that link, go to that video, tap ZenBloke into the comments section, job done. I need as many of you doing that as possible because it really is a super tight race, and if I win it, it's going to do great things for this channel and great things for you, the Zen fam. And hopefully soon, now that I've hit 500, I'm waiting for YouTube to notice and therefore activate the community tab, and then I'm going to do more stuff for you guys. Anyway, back to the plot. Right, so question number 1. What was the first game you ever bought with your own money? Well, that set me to thinking, because first of all I had to decide what did it actually mean by my own money. Because did it mean the first time I ever bought a game with my own pocket money that I saved up for and actually went out and bought the game, or did it mean the first time when I was actually working, you know, or at least having an income that I had, like when I was a student or whatever, or when I was first like in YTS or whatever, you know, and I actually had money coming in that was my money, and obviously had to be spent on like paying in rent to my mum and stuff and blah 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 blah. And I decided to go with the very first option because it was probably the most interesting, and also because it was technically my money because it was mine to spend as I wanted. You know, I could have spent it on, you know, any number of things as a child's want, but my mum had previously bought me and my sister a Commodore 16. Now, a lot of you people are going to go, I've heard of a Commodore 64, but Commodore 16? Yes, a Commodore 16. Which was basically, it's kind of like a mini computer. I mean, it had like an actual like keyboard computer thing with like gubbins inside it for doing extra functionality. And a tape deck and a joystick. You bought the joystick separately, obviously. And the games were on cassette. Now, for some of you younger ones out there, you're going to be gaming a cassette? What? Right. A cassette, for anybody under the age of about, let's see, 30. Alright. Small plastic case about yon size. Alright. About yon size. 2 holes in it. Alright. Which were like inside out cogs. You with me so far? Cool. Right, so these 2 inside out cogs were spools Alright? And what you had was a roll of electromagnetic tape. Alright? So tape that can carry a magnetic form signature on the tape. So basically lots of little particles of, I forget what oxide it is, but some form of oxide, and it was magnetically charged, and the way that the charge would be as the signal was being placed onto it would actually then be able to be readable by a machine and then spit out like music, or in this case computer code. So you would have these two spools. One would turn and one would keep tension, and the tape would go across a reader at the bottom, and basically it would go from one end to the other, collect the data, and it was literally the tape would actually move along the reader head, and thus the data would pass into the machine, and that's how we do it. And this process, bear in mind, we're talking like early 8-bit games, okay, could take anywhere from half an hour to like an hour 20, okay, to load a video game onto the machine, and sometimes it wouldn't work, okay. So gamers back in the 80s, we had to be patient, y'all. It's like there was none of this. This download of the latest Call of Duty from the PlayStation Store is taking over 20 minutes. What's going on here? You know, for a game that's literally gigabytes in size. Okay. It's like, and I'm loading an 8-bit game and it's taking me anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour 20. So consider yourself lucky, boys and girls. Of the younger ones anyway. Alright. So the first game I ever bought for me was actually from the local corner shop. Because back then there was no game, there was no EB, there was no like music stores didn't carry, have a gaming section, none of that. I mean, there were gaming stores back then, but there were music stores back then, I should say, but a lot of them didn't actually carry game stuff in them, or they'd carry a very small percentage. You actually had to rely upon small corner shops, and they would only ever have maybe about a dozen, maybe 20 odd games at best, and across the formats. In fact, some games I think had to be multi-format. I'm not quite sure how they did that, but anyway. So you would buy these cassettes, and they'd be like nothing more than maybe a $5, which was expensive at the time, especially for a kid. It's like, whew. So you really had to consider what you were doing, and the only thing you had to go on was the cover art. Seriously, I'm not joking. There was no reviews, there was no magazines, there was certainly no internet. So you had to read the blurb on the back of the box, look at the artwork, and sometimes you get lucky and there'd be screenshots of the gameplay, like really, really tiny, on the back of the cassette case. It's like, oh my god, this thing is, and that's all you had to go on. So you had to make a decision as to whether or not this game that you were holding was going to be worth it. So I bought this game, and it was called Kickstart. Now what you need to know is, at the same time, on BBC television, and this is back when there were only 3 channels, BBC One, BBC Two and ITV, alright, although up here in Scotland, STV, alright, you can get it. Anyway, there was a show on BBC called Kickstart, and what Kickstart was people on dirt bikes going across assault courses against the clock against other competitors. And obviously, there was time things for if a wheel fell off an obstacle or whatever, or you chose to go around the obstacle, then you were dinged a penalty of time, and so on and so on and so on. You get the drift. A lot like rally racing, okay? A time attack mode. I mean, is there anything more gaming than a time attack mode? So this particular program, not only was it quite popular, but it also had a very recognisable theme tune, all of which was as replicated as best possible in this little tiny 8-bit game on the Commodore 16. So your boy here bought it, and I played the hell out of that game. and I really enjoyed it, and it was, you know, the first game I had, but it was also the first game that ever gave me the absolute because let me set the scene for you. You had various different types of obstacle in the game, but one of the worst obstacles, okay, aside from big jumps that you could fail, alright, were barrels that were placed together. So you'd have like a barrel and another barrel. Now, 2 barrels you could jump over. If it was like 3, it would only ever in pairs. It'd be 1 or pairs. It would never be like 3 or 5. It was always in pairs, right? And this becomes important for the rest, okay? Because then you'd get to later levels and you'd have a row of them. And what you'd have to do is 2 barrels, your wheel would have to land right in between. So right here. So 2 wheels, 2 barrels, 4, you get where I'm going now, 4 barrels. So your wheels had to land boom, boom, and so on, depending on how many barrels there was. Well, there was a later level, something like level 27 or something. There was like 30 odd levels, because you could actually, in the end credits of the game, you could actually see all the levels going past, and it would actually scroll through the entire level and then scroll for the next level and on and on and on, while it played the names of all the people that made it, because you didn't have to complete the game to see the credits. Anyway, there was this one level, and I kid ye not, almost the entire, you know, level scene was made up of these pairings of barrels, which basically meant you had to do pixel perfect jumping for almost an entire level. Now, my record of being able to do this pixel perfect jumping at the age of like 8, I think I must have been, was about maybe 4, probably 6. I mean, it's a long time ago, I don't really remember that well. Okay, this thing, honest to God, it was like 30 barrels long. It's like, are you having a giraffe? It was impossible. Unless, of course, somebody there has done it. And if you are that person that has done it, then I would very much like to see video proof. I'm not taking your word for it, because I know how hard that was. So, Kickstart on the Commodore 16. That was the game, the first game I ever bought for me, by me, with my own money. The second question is, what game would you take to a desert island? Now, obviously, when it's a desert island disc type question, we always have the proviso of it's a perfect environment. You know, the system will never die. You obviously must have an internet connection. You know, yada yada yada. There is power, so on and so forth. It's a purely hypothetical. You know, because if you were to be on a desert island, the first thing you'd be doing is trying to get off the desert island. But so, you know, this is obviously the imagined scenario, right? So we can cast aside things like not having an internet connection and stuff. We're going to pretend that everything is perfect in this particular, you know, happenstance. So I was dancing about with this in my head, trying to go, well, what do I play? What would I take? And the first thing that popped to my head was this behind me, Grand Theft Auto Online. I thought, perfect. Game basically lasts forever. It's the never-ending gobstopper. There's always stuff today, even when it comes to the fact that one day they'll stop making stuff for it. You can always day hangs, and you can always go back and replay missions, and there's hundreds of missions. There's hundreds of races and stuff, and there's the heists, and you know they'll probably continue on for a good couple of years after Grand Theft Auto 6 has come out, even. And even if it didn't, we're talking the hypothetical perfect scenario. So boom. And then I thought, yeah, but sometimes Grand Theft Auto can be right nippy. I mean, aside from bugs and all the rest of it, the community sometimes can stink, you know, and the Oppressor Mark II and all the rest of it. And I was like, do I really want to be annoyed when I'm on my desert island? You know, a perfect gaming paradise, you know, where it's just me, the game system, and on munchies, you know, and just hours to play. Yeah, I don't think so. I think I'm going to get annoyed. So then I started thinking through like racing games and, you know, content creation games. I was thinking stuff like Dreams and Little Big Planet. And then I remember that I'm no good at Dreams and Little Big Planet. It's kind of, you know, it's, you know, once you've played stuff like Dreams and Little Big Planet, it doesn't quite have all the same appeal anymore because you see the limitations. And I was thinking it through, rumbling around, and then it hit me like a bolt of lightning. City Skylines. City Skylines, brilliant little game, and the main reason I could take it to the desert island is because, quite frankly, when you play that game, hours just melt. Seriously, I literally had to stop playing this game. Ask the Grey Wolf, he'll tell you. Right? I had to stop playing the game. I got addicted to this game hard. I was losing hours of sleep. I was going to work like a zombie. Okay? It's like, all I could think about was this game and trying to make my city better, you know, and like trying to get the perfect tax rate and, you know, the perfect right levels of zoning and look after my rubbish. And, you know, it was like SimCity, but much more fun and much more realised, to be honest. I mean, SimCity, it's so simmy. It's actually takes out the fun of the original SimCities from back on the SNES. You know, the SimCity 2000 and that is just like, ugh. It's too much. But something about City Skylines was just the right balance and crazy addictive, which is why I actually had to make myself stop playing it. But if I'm on a desert island, full force onto the night. Let's just go, lad, go. Because if I'm on a desert island and it's just me, then yeah, I'll play that City Skylines till I'm in my box. Yeah, that is definitely the answer. City Skylines on a PS5. You know, let's have all the bells and whistles. You know, in fact, I think it's only on PS5 actually. So I might be wrong about that. But anyway, City Skylines, PS5, Desert Island, job done. And then the third and final question was, what game do you love that everybody else hates? Now, I'm going to take a slightly different tack with this question. You see, there are lots of people that don't like lots of games that love other games. I mean, I don't like Fortnite, but lots of people love it. There are lots of games that I like that other people don't like, and vice versa. So what I decided to do was go for a game, alright, that was widely panned by the industry. The industry, the critics, you know, your IGNs, your Kotakus, your GameSpots, all that. They all hated this game. But at the time, for a quite while as well, afterwards, there was such a strong community and people that really dug this game, that absolutely adored it, that decided the critics were wrong. And there really was the split of players and critics that we've seen far too many times, where the critics hate a thing, but the public love it. That happens in all genres, music, movies, video games, a lot. And this game was, and some of you may have heard me speak of this before, The Fight Lights Out. Now, The Fight Lights Out, to me, was one of the best things I've ever played, especially at the time I was deep into my martial arts. Right? Because what you had was you had two move controllers. Okay, you had to have two move controllers. You could have a move and you could have your six axis or your DualShock 3, but it was better if you had two moves because, you know, there was more actuators and you had the light balls at the end for seeing the movement and stuff. And it wasn't Wii boxing, where literally you could sit down with Wii boxing and just go, you know. With The Fight Lights Out, you actually had to consider how you were holding sticks. You could hold the guard position and you could actually duck in the guard position. If you tilted the sticks like that, your character would turn round in a 3D environment and would actually circle round the character. And then you would actually pull one stick up to block and one stick out to punch. And you could connect punches and you could do, you know, haymakers and all the rest of it. You could do uppercuts, actual uppercuts. So what you punched in your room in front of your telly would translate on the character on the screen. You know, the movement, the ducking, because it would the PlayStation camera would actually see your body shape and it would respond with that. I mean, it was very basic, you know, like looking AI, but basic now, but kind of cool then, you know. And it could actually tell if you ducked, and because it, you know, would have a registry point of where the sticks would normally be, because you would hold your arms out and hold your sticks forward and stuff, and you would calibrate them every time you came to the game. So it knew where you were standing, and you didn't move around your room. You stayed pretty much in the same spot. But honest to God, swear on me meeting two veg, all right, you'd be getting up a serious sweat in this game. Forget Beat Saber. Honest to God, I'd be playing this thing. I was dripping, and I loved it. And you know, you'd have these fights, and they actually felt impactful. You know, you broke a sweat, not just because you were doing all this physical exertion and actual punching. I mean, when you got, you know, and actually keeping a block position. I mean, it was really intense stuff. Not only that, but Danny Trejo, alright? Danny Trejo was your guy in the game who was like talking to you before fights and getting you training tips and that. Danny Trejo! Whoever came up with that bit of the game was an absolute genius, and it just had the most interesting look. It's kind of this, you know, black and white sepia with a little bit of colour, and it was just a brilliant game, and the critics panned it mercilessly. But the fact of the matter was, the game just hit. No pun intended. The game just really did something for me, and I absolutely adored it. To the point where, like, a couple of years ago, before I sold my PS3, you know, to afford my PS5, is like I actually got another copy, you know, and I still had two move sticks because, you know, like doing all the stuff I had with, like, you know, with like Dreams and all the rest of it, and a couple of the VR games that I had. Not a VR game, sorry, a couple of the move titles that I had, like, too many to mention. Anyway, I played a lot of move games. I liked the move. I don't care what anybody else said. I liked move games. End of. So I had these two move controllers. So that game was perfect for me, and I absolutely adored it. And I just went back into it. And bear in mind, this is a couple of years before the PlayStation 5 came out. I started the PlayStation 5 Fund. So we're talking like 4 years ago. The community for that game was still there. There were still people playing it, and in good numbers. You could get into a lobby pretty much like that. So that says a lot for the game. I loved it, people loved it, but the critics hated it. The fight, lights out. Go search up a couple of videos even. It was something else. It's one of these games that I think it'd be kind of neat if it came back on PSVR 2, you know, especially with, like, if you receive a headshot, you know, you get a punch to the head, and the rumble motors in the headset which will register that. I think that'd be kind of cool. Okay, so now comes to the part of the video where I'm supposed to nominate 3 people to do the same as I. So those nominations are going to be in no particular order, because they're just guys I think that would be good at it. Is KTG Gaming. Yes, Mr. Kenny Thomas himself, the Canadian super dude, who's like, this is like his third go round on having a YouTube channel. He's had a couple others with similar names. It's like, he's had some difficult stuff happen for him, and he's taken a couple of breaks from YouTube over the years and always come back. And the guy just makes, you know, heartfelt, honest content. It's not the world's most technical content. I mean, he doesn't do all the bells and whistles I do, but the guy speaks from the heart and is just an honest to God gamer, you know, and you can't argue with that. You just can't. The other guy is PSG Gaming Scotland, right? And honestly, this bloke loves his retro, loves his new, loves to do a lot of the things I do. In fact, I've even spoken of this guy in hashtag support Scottish YouTubers. I mean, he's just a lovely bloke, and he's a good YouTuber, good quality content, and he does some of the things that I'd like to be able to do more of, like going to conventions that are further away from me. But I think he has better financial resources than I do, currently speaking. So yeah, him. And my final choice, now I really wrestled with this one. I wanted to come up with somebody else that was good, that had an interesting look at games. But I also wanted to give it to somebody who deserves a looking at. And again, I had to come back to the list of hashtag support Scottish YouTubers. So I'm going to go with my actual personal friend who I know in real life and in gaming, the Grey Wolf, David McLean. Such a good YouTuber. Mostly what Dave does is he does live Let's Plays. He does a lot of YouTube streaming. He makes the occasional like VOD, you know, but mostly his stuff is just straight up gameplay. But he's a good player. He's got a good on-screen presence, you know. He's really good at talking to his audience. And I think I'd be intrigued to see him actually on camera. He doesn't do a lot of on camera, but I'd be really intrigued to see him on camera discussing these particular questions. So, all three of you gentlemen are invited, and I look forward to seeing your videos. And Irish Nerd Life, I certainly hope you enjoyed this one, and if you want to spread it about, that would be awesome, brother. Thank you kindly. So, I hope you enjoyed these particular questions yourself. If you have your own particular answers, then please typey down below. Let them bloke know. And do please remember to get your votes in for YouTuber of the Month. I need your votes, guys. I really do. If you made it this far in the video, I'd like you to put backpack into the comment section so I know if you made it to the end. Backpack, as in the thing you put on your back for when you go your shopping. Because you don't use plastic bags, because you're kind to the environment. Alright, I'm going to love you and leave you. Look after each other out there. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers. And of course, as always, aye, nae bother.